Welcome to the Final Hour Podcast, coming to you from the original Living Word Christian Center out of Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. My name is Jim Hammond.
I'm Lonaiah Farrell.
I'm John Gap.
And?
I am JD.
JD.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise known as Jerry.
What's up, JD?
Or Jeremiah.
So hold on really before we start. We worked the merch table this past weekend.
Oh, yeah, you guys did.
And if you were privileged enough to be with us at the 9 a.m. after the service, Jim was there manning the table.
Yep.
He's the face of the sales of the podcast merch.
Push that merch.
It was really funny because Jim
merch.
would be talking to somebody and they would buy merch.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, Lonaiah, we got a sale. Like,
Lonaiah, come ring this up while I go make the next sale.
Well, he made the next sale. So I was
guys,
I had multiple sales going on thanks to Jim.
Ready to open a shop is basically.
Yes. And so there was a point where some things were happening with the merch because Jim was just selling it so fast that like there's front sides and back sides of it.
Off the shelf.
And Jim wanted the backside of the sweater shown, right? So I was showing it to make sure it was there. But then someone would come and buy it, and then he would fix that merch. So it was quite the experience. But I will say that everybody wants Jim's coffee cup.
That is a good one.
No longer available right now.
It is.
It's with the last company that dropped us. We got dropped on Stripe because Stripe is a liberal organization, and they found out what we're all about. And honestly, they dropped us.
Yep. So we have this new merch cup that we're presenting with Jim. The campaign is Move That Merch, and we want Jim. We're going to see how many cups of this we sell once Jim starts using Move That Merch. That's what the campaign is called. John, where are you?
Move that merch. Move. I'm over here.
See how, this is a classy cup. And it's
that is,
taller
and it's like the 16 ounce versus the 11 ounce.
But Jim, you're supposed to move that merch. So this is our challenge.
He moved it out of the way so that he could have his own cup.
We'll have Lonaiah attempt to paint it on
here. He shoved this cup away.
Yeah, move that merch out of my way. Gonna move that merch right out of my hair.
I was at the skin doctor this morning at 6:45 and had stitches put in my forehead. So we tried to cover it up with makeup.
I can't tell.
But in
John,
case
you're
you
looking
can,
at the side of his head.
Well,
we're good. Everything's good. With a redheaded, I used to be a redhead. That type of skin,
a ginger.
You need to go to the skin doctor.
Do you consider yourself a ginger still?
Every 6 months. No. Yeah. But I have that skin, and
not in hair, but gingers have.
Shout out to my favorite ginger, Ginger Joe. Love you, man.
But we are picking up where we left off from last week, where we were looking at a book by author and scholar Bill Salus, S-A-L-U-S, called The Future War Prophecies, where he details the upcoming wars before the rapture and after the rapture that the Bible prophesies about, all the way through the end of the tribulation and through the millennium. And just quickly running over some of the stuff we talked about, author Bill Salus details a war with Iran. In Jeremiah 49, where the people of Elam, E-L-A-M, those are the people located in southern Iran, are scattered across the earth as refugees because of the destruction of the cities in southern Iran.
It's getting spicy out there right now.
Yeah, it is.
And so that part of Iran, they're called Elam, is called Elam in the Bible. He points to Isaiah 17, to the destruction of Damascus as a second war. In the first three wars, he openly says it's really hard to get an order on these wars. He says it's a full-out war with Syria. If you look at Isaiah 17, and we will eventually, but Jeremiah 29:33 through 37, again, he doesn't know the order. He points to a third war, and I wonder, and that's which he calls a proxy war. A third war he calls a proxy war in Isaiah 17, chapter 17. And I wonder if the second war with Syria and the third war he's calling a proxy war, if these aren't the same things, because Syria, most of it is littered with Iranian proxies. Syria doesn't even have its own army at this point. It's got a very tiny little army that's going to do what Iran tells it to do anyways.
Yeah.
Hezbollah is not just in Lebanon, they're in Syria. Hamas is not just in southern Israel, they are in Syria and Lebanon.
And the West Bank.
Yes, multiple militias that the Iranians have brought in out of Afghanistan, out of Iraq, other countries. Proxies of Iran are sitting in Syria, the Houthis, as well as multiple other Shiite militias. So, number one, he's got a war with Elam. Between Israel and Elon, that's the destruction of the southern Iran and the cities in southern Iran. And we wondered if that is the Israelis bombing southern Iran to rid them of a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
And rid Iran of its underground nuclear facilities. He says number two, with Syria all-out war, which is, I believe, is part of what he calls number three, which is a proxy war. All this can be found in Isaiah 17, and we'll break that down shortly. But I'll be straight with you. It takes a scholar to sort out Isaiah 17. I did not completely understand it just reading it on my own until I started looking at it, how he explains it. If you read chapter 7 of the book Future War Prophecies, all right, I believe you can only get this book as an ebook. The title, chapter 7, is called The Proxy War That Shakes Israel. And so those are the first three. We don't know the order. To me, 2 and 3 are the same thing. You've got the proxy war, which obviously has, in a sense, may have started. If you look at what's going on in southern Gaza, they're saying that they've started the ground war. All right.
Yeah, Iran is saying that they're
interesting how it all goes off the air.
Right.
I haven't heard anything.
Right.
Since the ground war started, I was hearing about it on the regular news every day.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, I spoke to somebody yesterday who said this was very interesting. The Gaza Strip, there's a northern and a southern. The northern Gaza area is millionaires and billionaires. And I don't know if you've seen this, but three of the top 5 billionaires in the world are Hamas leaders. Yeah. And then the guy I was talking to said they have hundreds of millionaires in the Gaza Strip, but they separate it. So they push all the migrants, immigrants, anything they don't agree with, who doesn't agree with them, down to the southern.
Interesting.
So they stay up in the northern area, and it's divided. And they have all these tunnels because everyone's like, how come Hamas, if you have all this money, why aren't you protecting all these civilians? And they said, so the leader of it, his name is, what is his name? I was reading about it yesterday. Marzouk. And he's like, it's not our job to protect the civilians. That's the job of the UN. We have tunnels that are strictly for and to exist to protect to protect our people, which are terrorists, not civilians. But that's what they say.
Yeah, they don't just not protect them, but they use them as human shields. Okay, so,
that's just dirtbag status.
But isn't that
just terrible?
It is. It's crazy.
But do read chapter. It's an ebook, Future War Prophecies. It's titled the chapter's titled "The Proxy War That Shakes Israel," and he's breaking down Isaiah 17. But then Isaiah chapter 17. But then he says after that, number 4. Now you can count the order here. The Bible's pretty clear on that order. Psalm 83 war. After that is exclusively an Israeli-Arab conflict that he believes will follow up this proxy war. The Bible is 80% prophecy. 80% of those prophecies have been fulfilled. After Psalm 83, he has the Ezekiel 38 war, which either comes right before the rapture or right after. He talks about the tribulation, the sealed judgment wars of the white horsemen. The Antichrist shows up. He's got a bow, no arrows, because at first it's peace. This is the white horseman. conquering to conquer, right? War, the world war. He calls the red horseman, the second horseman. Although the second horseman, the fiery red horse, he's got the power to take peace from the earth, right? So this author is calling this, another a war, but I think that's disputed. I think that could be a piece of a spirit of murder that is released on the earth, where we see, in America here, what do we see? One mass murder a week, right?
So, yeah.
Well, this to me, in my opinion, this goes up, to 1,000 a week. Suddenly, there's just no safety. He's also saying that the pale horse, it has to do with holy wars and the seal judgments, but that horse brings 1/4 of the earth. He has the power to kill with the sword, hunger, death, and the beasts of the earth. So these are disputed if these are all wars in the seal judgment. We know there is war, but he refers to the fifth trumpet judgment, which is a demon invasion that we've dedicated a whole podcast to that specific trumpet judgment. The sixth trumpet judgment of Revelation is a 200 million man army. Some scholars believe it's the Chinese. It could be possibly at this point a robot army, or maybe a hybrid type man who's infused with technology. Whatever it is, it's an army of 200 million, and they kill 1/3 of mankind.
Wow.
So that's a lot of war. And mid-tribulation, you've got the war in heaven. We dedicated a whole podcast to that also.
Sorry, quick question. Isn't there a point in the Bible where it says like the blood of somebody's up to a waist? Where is that?
That's Armageddon.
Oh, that's Armageddon.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bridle's
Up to the
bridle of
bridle
a
of a
horse,
horse.
so that might be. That could
Higher
be a
than
little
a
higher
waist.
than waist. But you've got Armageddon at the end of the tribulation, and then the final war is at the end of the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ.
Yeah.
And he goes through these wars. Bill Salus, he's a scholar, and he lines up these wars, right? Tries to put them in order, tries to give them scriptural reference.
Yeah.
There's a lot to dig into. It's really just a matter of how much do you really want to dig into it. But Isaiah 17:1 talks about the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city. It shall be a ruinous heap. How do we know that that's prophecy that's not fulfilled? Because Damascus has never been a ruinous heap. Never once. I believe Damascus at some point becoming a ruinous heap, being completely destroyed, probably when this proxy war ramps up. Israelis hit targets in Damascus on a weekly basis,
right,
and have been doing so since we started this podcast 90 weeks ago or whatever. And so
that's a little more surgical, though, wouldn't you say?
Right, but I'm saying that Damascus, you don't hear about it, but it's being bombed every week. It's not just some quiet city where they're sending jets in there. We've said this before. They've continually tried to hit Iranian weapons stashes around that city. We know Iranian Revolutionary Guard has many officers that are billeting in Damascus. Damascus in Syria is the oldest inhabited city in the world. It goes back to the time of Abraham. And so this chapter, Isaiah 17:1, starts out with the destruction of Damascus. That has not happened, all right? So we know that that is something that is coming. Isaiah 17:4-6. In that day it shall come to pass. This is all in line with the destruction of Damascus, that the glory of Jacob, that's Israel, is thin at this point. The fatness of his flesh is lean. That's speaking of them economically as a country. It shall be when the harvestman gathereth the corn, reapeth the ears with his arm. It shall be as he that gathereth ears in the valley of Rephaim. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, and the shaking of an olive tree. 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uppermost branches. 4 or 5 of grapes in the outmost fruitful branches thereof, saith the Lord God of Israel. So notice here, and it takes a scholar to break this down, but you have Israel in what we just read. Author Bill Salus in the Future War Prophecies believes Israel has suffered a severe hit.
Mm-hmm.
Damascus being flattened, Israel is suffered some type of severe hit. That's what we just read. That's what it's inferring through this prophecy, that when it says the glory of Jacob, that's Israel, should be made thin. The fatness of his flesh, that's Israel, shall wax lean. It's prophesying that Israel during this time when Damascus is flattened has suffered something major itself. He says this is what ushers in the Psalm 83 war.
Yeah.
You have a weakened Israel, but they have destroyed Damascus. And I'm telling you what the Bible is prophesying, and what is prophesied that has not come to pass.
Right. Right.
That ushers in the Psalm 83 war, which is a war exclusively between Israel and the Arab nations that surround it. A lot of people believe that Israel's war of independence, when the world said hey, let's make Israel a nation. I feel like the world forgets that.
Right.
Yeah.
The world said that, okay, in 1948. They were immediately attacked by all the Arab nations listed in Psalm 83 and a few more. That war went on for 3 years, in 1948 to 1951. From the day Israel was given its independence, they went to war and were attacked by everyone that surrounded them and a few others. And so many people think that that's Psalm 83, that it's already happened. But if you look at Psalm 83, all those ancient names that are listed in Psalm 83, it's not just a prayer, it's a prophecy. Those are all the ancient names of all the nations that surround Israel today.
Yeah.
What you get out of Psalm 83, if you read it carefully, these specific countries will never oppress Israel again. Never again after that war. Okay, now listen to this.
So that's pretty specific language right there.
Yeah, and then you go into Ezekiel 38. Well, these are other countries. These are Iran. This is Russia. This is Turkey. This is not Psalm 83. And so here's the thing. Psalm 83 says these countries will be beaten so badly by God, they will never oppress Israel again. Well, they all turned around and attacked Israel in 1973 in October.
Right. They oppressed Israel.
Surprise
again.
attack.
Yeah. 6
years earlier, they massed a 1 million man army. In 1967, you had the 6-day war.
Right.
So obviously, this is not Psalm 83 because they have come back at them numerous times. And so Psalm 83 has not happened. And so author and scholar Bill Salus believes that the Gog-Magog war, that is Ezekiel 38, will follow Psalm 83. All right? And that will set everything up for the Antichrist. But he believes Psalm 83 will come first. And so let's talk about this.
Interesting.
This proxy war that author and scholar Bill Salus in his book, The Future War Prophecies, he says it will be a dire conflict between Israel and what I believe is the proxies of Iran located in Syria. And we explained how Israel in chapter 17, Isaiah 17, 4-6, goes through what Bill Salus calls a powerful shaking.
Yeah.
We just read where the prophet is using agriculture as an example. It's talking about the uppermost parts of fruitful branches of the olive trees. It's talking about a diminishment of Israel's resources. That's how you interpret that. That becomes lean. Israel becomes economically unstable from this conflict. And something happens that causes them to have to destroy Damascus in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Overnight. All right. So it's implying that a healthy grain harvest they have as this proxy war starts, but as it progresses, it scales down to a meager gleaning of grapes that is left over. The grape harvest occurs in August and September. It's talking about a shaking of olive trees, we read. The olive tree is the mainstay of Israel's economy. The olive tree is. And so it says in Isaiah 17:6, 2 to 3 olives will be at the top of the uttermost parts of the olive trees and 4 to 5 of the fruitful branches. It's going to be a scant harvest. We don't know how long the conflict will last. This is a shaking of Israel that turns into an economic struggle. You have the destruction of Damascus. This is all from going at it with the proxies of Iran, mostly coming out of Syria. So let's look at these scriptures again. Isaiah 17:1. The burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city. It's a city no longer. Damascus has been in operation and inhabited since the time of Abraham.
Yeah.
And it shall be a ruinous heap. That has not happened yet, right? So, and that same day, looking at verse 4, same prophecy, it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made then, the fatness of his flesh wax lean. It shall be when the harvestman gathereth the corn, reapeth the ears with his arms. It shall be that he gathereth ears in the valley of Rephaim. This, we don't have time to go over it, but that gives you of a location there of what's going on. Gleaning the grapes shall be left in it. The shaking of an olive tree. Only 2 or 3 berries in the top uppermost branches, 4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches thereof. Scant olive harvest in their number one crop. And that day shall a man look to his maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. Hezbollah-backed terrorists have hundreds of cells in the Syrian border throughout Syria, if not thousands. Obviously, this conflict is not involving not only the proxies of Iran, but Iran itself. From what we're talking about in the Bible, they push Israel to a point where Israel has to destroy Damascus. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, whenever this happens, we told you, and it's going to be one of those, say, look back at this episode. It's in the Bible, and what it says, the verse we're about to read, it's implying Damascus is more or less destroyed overnight. It says those who plunder us and those who rob us. Pay attention now. Listen to this. Same prophecy, Isaiah 17:14. Behold, an evening tide trouble. Before the morning, he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us and the lot of them that rob us. He breaks that down. Plundering and robbing is suggesting the Jewish state is under some type of invasion. Okay? Not just missiles. Who knows how many proxy troops the Iranians have in Syria? We know in Lebanese it's estimated 7,000 on the border, 50,000 Lebanon, 50,000 total. Airstrikes don't plunder and rob.
No.
Okay? Airstrikes, missiles, ground-to-ground, surface-to-surface missiles don't plunder and rob. It's foot soldiers, troops on the ground. And it's giving the appearance that Jewish cities and neighborhoods are being attacked now, which we just saw in Gaza.
Right.
Okay? Plundered and robbed. But also in Isaiah 17, it gives it a sense that it's coming from the north. And according to the Bible, they're going to destroy Damascus overnight. That's what we just read, if you interpret that. And that will infuriate all the Arab nations, which hence,
of course,
Psalm 83. Hence, Psalm 83. They're going to say, if Israel can do that to Damascus, they can do it to any of us, right? Hence, Psalm 83. And remember, and they'll say, we can do it because Israel's weakened, right? Israel being a weakened state from the proxy war. Iran has what is called a double jeopardy in the end times. It's the subject of dual prophecies. Okay, we've already talked about one part of Iran being called Elam. Elam is just a small portion of Iran. Persia is considered, the Persians are considered most of Iran in the Bible. And we're going to pick more up on this next week. But I just think it's interesting because we've been talking about, we've given you a rundown of what's on Israel's northern borders, even in the south. Exactly. Yeah. Go back to our earlier podcasts. You know exactly what they're facing. This is where this proxy war is going to take place in Isaiah 17. Check out episode 58, titled Details of the Iranian Buildup on the Borders of Israel.
Interesting.
Remember,
we were there 30 weeks ago.
And I was
That's
standing on these borders and the Gaza border too. I was in these settlements. One of these settlements that were overrun in March for the purpose of what we're talking about today. I was getting this kind of information.
Yeah.
The thumbnail, for those of you that are challenged, is called Israel's Iron Dome. We had a tour of the Iron Dome. It was amazing. Like right there, they explained how it worked. Episode 59, the Iranian Ring of Fire. Okay.
Did you hear that the United States has 2 Iron Domes that they sent to Israel last week? Did you hear that?
I did not.
I didn't know that we had Iron Domes here.
We do.
Yeah.
They told us that when I was over there.
Did they?
Yes. But
anyways,
that episode 59, Iranian Ring of Fire, if you don't know how to find the titles, it's the little picture, the thumbnail.
Yes, Jim.
Not most of these people don't.
Well, it can be confusing.
I know you're Miss Technology over here, but the little picture
Jim's
is
so specific. I'm
the
just
new
like
Persian Empire. If you're looking at the pictures,
I would have just said episode 59, and then here Jim is with the number, the title, and the thumbnail.
If you don't want to do things half, okay, I'm just saying if you don't want to do things halfway,
Lonaiah.
Okay, so.
Halfway feral.
A lot of times you can't see the episode number.
It's true, James.
On the website.
It's true. I'm just glad you're so thorough. It helps.
Episode 61, but if you can't see the episode number, it's titled Low Scale War on Syrian and Lebanese
John's
border.
just going to stay out of this argument.
We were telling you in April, there was a low scale war on the Syrian and Lebanese borders.
Low key, bro.
Okay.
Those podcasts actually were very eye-opening for me. All the information that you came back with was, it helps right now. Even if you go back to listen,
you're going to know what they're
hear
facing
about Hezbollah and all those different groups, militia groups that what they do to get into these places and infiltrate it is.
But we've got what they're facing. We've got number of troops. Yes. We've got the names of all the militias.
Yeah.
We've got the number of rockets that they can send over the border.
Yeah.
The number of mortars. Check out those 58, 59, and 61 episodes because we were talking to you about this way back in April. And I personally believe one of the best podcasts we've had here was with Ronnie Levy, podcast number 45, titled Israel Update. All right. If you want to learn about the land and whose land it is, and what's going on with the land, because in essence, that's what this is all about. Right. It's about the land, okay? Check out that with Ronnie Levy, episode 45. And next week, we'll pick back up on this subject as the ground war continues in the Gaza Strip.
The ground war, do you think by next week it's going to be
Iran
only Gaza, or is it going to be spreading throughout a lot of Israel?
According to the predictions from Iran and what they're saying that they're coming in.
They're saying they're invading this weekend, but
they are. And
who announces that?
No one's smart.
Who says we're invading?
These people.
Hey, watch on Friday.
We're invading
coming
on
in.
Saturday. We're invading on Saturday.
But
that would be hard to believe.
I heard that the attack on October 7th has been discussed for 2 years, and it was actually a big group of, like Hezbollah, all these different groups, but Hamas wanted the credit, so they jumped the gun. So they were going to come in from all different points, but Hamas wanted the credit, so they jumped the gun and only went in their way. So that's why it was just to that specific area, but that is what I think Amir Safadi was
Amir Safadi.
He is
phenomenal. Who knows, is saying this was supposed to be coordinated.
Yeah.
But Hamas went early. Okay.
Hamas, what they did when they killed the Jewish people, they took out their hearts and their livers.
This isn't
because
speculation.
It's an abomination to the Jewish person.
Yeah. And cut them up into little pieces of steak.
Yeah.
So Hamas did a Leroy Jenkins on all of the rest of the... Wow.
They cut their bodies into little pieces. You know, this is not misinformation.
No, this
Okay.
no.
So terrible.
This is the truth. This is the truth. They cut them into little pieces.
Okay,
right?
I'm a big like researcher, and I'll watch things. And I was watching the Jewish coroners who are trying to find and determine whose body is whose from all this stuff that's happened. They have them lined up in a morgue, and they said the amount of people with their heads cut off and limbs mixed up and families that were burned to pieces. They're like, they knew of this one family where the father was basically manipulated and amputated in front of the entire family, and then they burned the kids with the mom alive. He said you could tell they were burned alive. He said he hasn't seen anything like that ever in his entire life.
That is
And people are protesting for these people.
so terrible.
Protesting. Fox News actually this morning, I was going to send it to John, but I didn't because I feel like we bombard each other with things we want to talk about. But it was a Columbia University student, and she was a black student who is Jewish. And she said, I used to feel accepted. I used to feel like everybody welcomed me. And she said, after this happened on October 7th, she said, a flip switched. People were making stances against Jewish people. She said, we do not feel safe. We've asked the leadership in our colleges to stand up for us and to denounce what is happening. She said, you're not supporting Palestinians. Like, you're supporting Hamas.
Right.
These evil people who came in and attacked us. This is what you stand for. You're standing for these people.
Yes.
And she said, I don't feel safe. And so this woman was phenomenal. She's like 21.
I saw her.
Did you see her?
I saw her. They had her actually on regular news.
Did they have her on regular news? Wow.
Well, they were doing a double. They were saying
They were going both sides.
They were saying both sides were.
But remember, Jim, we
been-
watched that video on Ronnie Levy's Facebook with that Palestinian guy.
Yeah.
It was amazing, and again, we tried to post it, but it turned out we posted the wrong thing. Jim Babo, I'm sorry, I sent you the wrong video. It was an incredible. The top of Ronnie Levy's Facebook. This Palestinian man is saying there's nothing to do with Israel. Hasn't oppressed anyone. If Israel has nuclear weapons, like what? Then if they wanted us dead, then why haven't they put a nuclear weapon on the Gaza Strip? What if we had nuclear weapons? What if the Palestinians had nuclear weapons? What would they do? What do they do with just a few missiles? Right?
Yeah.
Israel's in position to destroy all of the Gaza Strip with one fell swoop, like it will do with Damascus eventually, right? But has it done that? It absolutely hasn't done that. Are they cutting the heads off babies? Are they cutting up Palestinians into little pieces? Yep. Has that ever happened? And if you think it has, then you need to go over there and you'll see that it hasn't. You know, it just, okay, I'm getting worked up.
No, it's okay.
Can I say something to this?
Yeah.
I've got a...
this is an open forum, John.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. There's a family that we worked with in Sturgis during the Sturgis rallies. Their family would come in and work, and they're Jewish. And so earlier this week, I was like, hey, just wanted to make sure that you know that I and my family and my church, we're all standing with you and we support you in light of all of the different protests and different things that are being said about the Jewish and Israeli people. And she was like, thank you so much for reaching out, because none of my non-Jewish friends are speaking up and reaching out. So I just wanted to say, if you have friends.
I was just going to read we have a staff member who's Jewish, and she texted me on yesterday and said, hey, I'm just getting to listen to the final podcast from last week now. I want to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you for saying what you did and bringing light to the situation in Israel.
Yeah.
So
it's so
her parents went through the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Yes, her grandparents went through the Holocaust.
Yes.
And her dad fought in the 6-Day War.
And there will be another Holocaust in the tribulation.
Yeah.
I believe it's 1/3 of Israel, or half of that nation, will be killed by the Antichrist. So there is a final Holocaust, and you can see things moving, and definitely.
And I don't know if anyone has read any books or you've watched anything about the Holocaust, but it is a disgusting thing that took place. I mean, when I can't
horrific.
maybe I can upload some of my videos from Auschwitz, but it is mind-boggling what they did to the Jewish people in Auschwitz.
I guess we were aggressive by calling it ignorant
I don't know.
conservative Christians, but I'm just really, I'm just done talking to people that have not studied it, that have not been there, that are listening to the news, and they go online and they have their Palestinian friend,
Right.
right, that's only been there a few times, right? Or, you know, you can take a tour to Israel that's from a Palestinian point of view, right? You can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
And so, but I'm just saying, none of these people that I get these questions from or claim that Israel is oppressing the Palestinians, none of these people have been there. None of these people have talked to the Jews that are on the ground over there, right? That you know, you have to. And that's why there's so much deception involved. I will say, I'm just done trying to explain to those people because they are ignorant. They are ignorant. Honestly, if they're going to argue for that, they've never been there. They've never talked to a Jew that's grown up there and lived there, right? Then they really don't have a ground to stand on.
There's a big culture war going on right now. I mean, even I don't know if we didn't talk about Dave Chappelle last week, did we? So Dave Chappelle, a great comedian, and kind of has a lot of takes that are out of the mainstream and like kind of fight against some of the insanity of the tolerance and all of the wokeness, which has been, you know, funny to see because he cuts through it.
He does.
However, he is Muslim, and he this last week started talking about this whole thing that happened in Israel and Gaza. Yeah, it's kind of low key and under the radar, but there were some Jewish people at one of his shows, and he started talking about what was going on, and they were like, you know, shut up, Dave. And then he kind of just went off. But it's interesting over the last...
How? Like which way?
Went off on, you know, you paid to be here, so you're going to listen to me.
But what side did he take?
Oh, he took the Palestinian side.
Okay. All right.
And that's...
But you saw this ramp up because over the last year, he's talked about, because of Kanye over the last year, has started talking about Jews in Hollywood. And then Dave talked about, you know, kind of low key, but kind of opened the door about maybe there's a questionability about Jews. You know, he didn't necessarily say it out loud like that, but now when there's a big thing going on and a lot of people are protesting against Israel and Jews, he you know, what he has said before is kind of getting inflamed and kind of opens the door for more people to go, yeah, we hate Jews. And so there's a bunch of anti-Semitic pop culture that's happening right now where it's really, really out there.
But even in our own government, you have a pro-Hamas bias in the U.S. government. So Josh Hawley, who I absolutely love, I love him. He's in Missouri. He's a senator. But there was a DHS, so Department of Homeland Security, asylum officer who was fast-tracked to this role by Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas, who we've talked about before.
Yep.
Okay, open border. We have an open border.
Who has really broken the border in the Biden administration, for sure.
But he fast-tracked this lady to this position to approve citizens and migrants who come in to get them like quickly processed. And she made a comment on her, I feel like it was her Twitter, and then it was like connected to her LinkedIn, where she said basically like, hey, I'm immigrants, asylum seekers, Palestine, refugees, welcome. This is what I want. Like, I support you. So she supports Palestine. And so,
well, and she has an alt account. She has an account that she had like the paragliding troops that attacked
I didn't see that.
On October 7th. Yeah. It was like a simulated one. It wasn't like an actual, but it was very pro-Hamas.
So she got put on paid leave, and Senator Josh Hawley's like, why is she still being paid? Get her off.
Is she fired?
Remove her.
Have you fired yet?
And Mayorkas is like, I can't attest to that. That's a personal matter. We're still dealing with it. And Josh Hawley's calling for this lady to be removed from her position, and he won't remove her from her position.
That person has no business being in the United
all
States
in the
government.
meantime, while we have which I read this, I read yesterday, 5,000 migrant caravan coming from Mexico. Now it's up to 7,000. But you still have your borders open, and you're warning people that we have terrorist threats with our open border. Close the borders.
Right.
Shut the borders down.
They don't want to.
They don't want to.
They want them in the country.
And then
they want them in the country.
This was interesting because the timing of this. So then yesterday, November 1st, a statement from the White House press secretary Karen Jean-Pierre on President Biden's establishment of the first ever national strategy to counter Islamophobia comes out right now.
What about
during all this? Yes. So then you wonder why there's ignorant people in this world.
Ignorant
you have,
conservative Christians.
Or ignorant people in general. But anyways.
And,
makes me so mad.
Their churches just definitely don't teach what's in the Bible there.
No.
But what do we got news-wise?
Okay, so the corruption in Ukraine, we've talked about it. We've raised questions about why we continually send funds over there. So an anonymous top advisor to the Ukrainian president, Zelensky, who is with the Israel war going on and us sending funds over there, he's now saying, hey, we need more money. Of course he is. So he's kind of crying like a baby over there in the corner. Well, one of his top aides started sounding an alarm and saying that the country has widespread corruption, admitting that government officials are stealing like there's no tomorrow. All this is coming to light while Joe Biden is asking Congress to send another $60 billion to Ukraine.
Say no.
But this is one of their top
they
advisors.
Should be a top 10 military.
Yeah.
With all the money that we have given them, there is no way that is all gone to straight military, because if they did it and they did it right, it would be unbelievable. Because of what we left in Afghanistan, brought them to number 26 in the world.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Imagine where the Ukraine's military should be. It should be phenomenal. It should be significant. Okay, and so.
So we did not talk about our new House Speaker, Mike Johnson. And I just have to say, he kind of came out of nowhere. And I have watched interviews with him. He's phenomenal. He did one with Kayleigh McEnany yesterday.
Solid.
Where she's like, this is what they're saying about you. They're comparing, because he said, I hear the Holy Spirit in my head, or, I hear the voice of God. So Bill Maher. Said, oh, that's like the main killer. Remember the main guy who just killed 18 people? He said he heard voices in his head. So now Bill Maher is comparing Mike Johnson, who's a Christian, to this crazy psychopath who killed a bunch of people just to belittle his Christianity. Yeah. So Kayleigh McEnany's like, how do you combat that? And he's like, I'm a Christian. We're going to get persecuted, but I'm not going to back down in my beliefs. Right. So, he kind of came out of nowhere. He surprised me with when he got picked. Phenomenal. So pray for Mike Johnson.
We had my sister and I we didn't have it out, but she was like, oh, this is such a terrible move for the Republicans in Congress to get McCarthy out of there. I was like, Matt Gaetz is my hero for calling McCarthy out for breaking all of the promises to the Republicans for not following through. And then for the Republicans to now have a very conservative, pro-Constitution, a Bible-believing man to be leading the party in the House is such a gift and such a win because, I believe that he will do the right thing.
And how many times on this podcast does Jim stress pray for your leaders?
Yeah,
I mean, literally, he came out of... I don't know. Yeah. He wasn't even on the radar.
No.
Anyways.
I was
That's why you keep
jumping
praying.
up and down that happened.
You can pray for him. That doesn't mean you have to trust him.
No,
that's true.
I'm to the point where either side.
For sure.
To me, both sides are more or less a joke.
I think you should be.
So I just pray for him and let God sort it out.
Agreed.
And I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone there, but
no, you're
like
not.
I said, there's some ignorant conservative Christians out there.
Last week's podcast.
Go ahead.
So the House GOP plans to aid Israel with cuts to the IRS budget. Did you see that? So they said, we're $33 trillion in debt. We don't have any more money to give. So let's cut the IRS $14.3 billion. And it's getting pushed through. It hasn't. All the Republicans have agreed. They're just waiting for the Democrats to agree on the cut instead of trying to find money. I think that's phenomenal. What's the IRS doing anyway?
They're also talking about defunding the ATF because the ATF is, or the ATF or the DEA, one of the two. They're really pushing gun rights, like they're violating gun rights for gun owners, and they're searching for records and this and that, and so they're going to go after them. They're like, maybe we can't do away with the whole department itself, but we can zero out their budget and not be able to pay anybody.
But didn't the IRS hire like 80,000 new agents last year to go?
They were going to.
All right. So they obviously have money to spend.
Right. Well, as long as that their budget goes through, they can do whatever they want with it.
Right. Huh. Okay, so we're going to talk about the marinara.
Ooh, there's been
Nara. If you don't get it, I'm sorry.
Maybe the people who aren't watching don't understand.
Well, we had an email come in and say maybe we need to expand the list of vocabulary that we
might need to put a food menu on the podcast.
Put a menu.
Yeah.
Well, then that gives it all away.
So people understand. But
it's all right.
When I say this name, you'll understand. So it was revealed that Anthony Fauci had a lab that was run in Montana that experimented with the
marinara strain.
Yes, shipped in from the coronavirus. We can say coronavirus.
We can.
Okay.
Shipped in from Wuhan.
You and John are the ones that gotten us canceled. So go ahead.
A year before the COVID pandemic began. So in 2018, he used U.S. taxpayer money to bring this in to experiment it in a lab in Montana. And then they brought it to a Maryland zoo and they put it in bats. So it did go in bats to try and find it. But have we all not been questioning Anthony Fauci since the beginning?
Yes.
What?
I'm going to do, if you look at the end of one of these books that Paul wrote, I can't quite remember which one, he actually curses Alexander the coppersmith for what he did to him. So I curse Anthony Fauci right now. In the name of Jesus.
Son, you better watch yourself.
He's a bad man.
He is.
He's an evil man.
He's not
okay?
a
well,
Batman.
Yes.
He's a bad man.
He's an evil man.
He is evil.
Right? And so,
and I think
you feel like we need to
edit that?
Edit that, Jerry?
No, I don't think so.
Let's see what happens.
Nobody.
Okay.
Nobody does.
All right.
So speaking of Anthony Fauci, so this does have to do with the COVID marinara shot. Okay. So the White House orchestrated the cover-up of the marinara vaccine that caused heart damage. Now, do we remember it was mandated from the White House that everybody had to get the marinara shot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They tried.
But the Freedom of Information Act, which I think is so phenomenal, and I'm glad that the Daily Clout went after this information, but they obtained high-level officials' emails from the White House with the CDC prevention and the American Academy of Pediatricians that knew that the marinara shot was linked to myocarditis, which is an inflamed heart and causes problems and death. But they doubled down on the vaccine mandates. So I just had a family member pass away for no reason, and I am pretty sure it's because
a lot of 50-year-olds out there dying.
A lot of 50-year-olds.
And no one knows why.
And totally healthy, no problems, and just...
Man.
Boom.
I think it's because of that.
All marinaraed up.
All
marinaraed
Jesus
up.
Over
yep.
yourselves.
Speaking of...
Yes, because I had to get the marinara because I was going to Israel. And I thought, hey, I can drink any deadly thing. And so I wasn't afraid of it, right? Yeah. But I'm just saying that's not what I'm telling you to do.
Right.
All right?
Right.
But I wanted to go to Israel. And this was right around that time.
Yep.
And so I got it. It was a requirement at that time. I was going over there by myself. And so I got it. And then 3 days later after I got it, I was supposed to leave. And Israel said, we're shutting down.
traveling.
We're shutting down the country.
Son of a gun.
And so I understand. I got it, and I'm not going to go into, but there are things that I've dealt with that I never dealt with before. I'll just tell you that, right?
Right.
Never dealt with before. Immediately after that,
and we have
I'll
links
just
to
say
all
that.
these articles so you can share them with people who don't believe, because not everybody believes. Some people think that it's still great for you. But now the FDA is finding it's called
Ignorant.
a safety signal of seizures in children ages 2 to 5 after the marinara vaccine.
Marinara.
So they're just saying, hey, we don't know. All of a sudden we're having these 2-year-olds. Let me
It's
tell
so
you,
weird.
my daughter at 18 months had a cerebral seizure from a vaccine. She had like 106 degree temperature. It was totally the Lord that even went up and checked on her. But my children have not gotten a vaccine since that day.
Yeah.
And that shook me to my core. So all of a sudden you have hundreds, thousands, I would say it's thousands. So of children, and they're not doing this only between 2 and 5. Okay, the number of cases was 72, with 50% meeting the definition for febrile seizures. Yeah. So 35 out of 72 kids was having a seizure after they got the marinara vaccine.
2 to 4, and that's for the Pfizer marinara.
And the yes, Moderna too.
And Moderna.
So
Moderna
I'm
and
just saying,
Pfizer marinaras.
So the signal emerged through near real-time surveillance of more than 4 million vaccinated children. Okay, and the study also identified myocarditis and pericarditis safety signals. They're calling them safety signals because they're saying we can't specifically say it's because of this bull crap. That is between male, remember, it was men, it was male kids, ages 12 to 17 years old.
What about all the soccer players?
Yeah, remember that?
That were
Kids
marinaraed up,
Right.
just dropping like flies.
So fight with everything in you if you know someone's going to do it or going to take their child. Educate them.
Yes.
Pray for God to give you wisdom about what to say. Because, I mean, some people are, I will say, I had a friend, they were very, very pro-vaccine, very educated, like Brown, Yale, Harvard family.
Yeah.
And I started saying, why are you getting the vaccine? They were getting, the marinara shot. They were giving out, you can edit that. They were giving out bonuses. Remember they were giving you like $100 gift cards to get them?
Why do they have to pay you to get something?
This child was getting it in college, and he would go to get the marinara shot and say, oh yeah, I got $100 gift card. I finally said, what are you doing? And I sent him a bunch of articles and he read it. Well, he doesn't get him anymore. His other brother doesn't get him anymore. The sister still
Does
is.
his educated parents?
Yes, of course they do.
Oh,
but at least 2 of the 5 family members no longer are taking it because I kept going at him like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
I just think
it was a fight in the
early
beginning.
on. You have to look at the thought process here. They knew that the people that would get them were the people that supported them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
That's true.
I feel, and that's when I got it. I'm telling you, as it's gone on, all right, and on and on and on, it's got, to me, the marinara has gotten more and more poisonous.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not from the beginning. I don't believe it was quite as poisonous as it is now, or as you would call the booster marinaras. Okay,
that was great, Jim.
Yes.
Don't you feel like people really started questioning it though when they said if you take this marinara, you won't get the virus anymore.
And then
everyone's getting the virus.
Yes. But wait, we just read a stat that only 5%, 2% of Americans,
that was on last week's in the articles there,
of Americans have the marinara. Right
okay,
now.
One more thing that
2%.
I don't
so
have
what does
on
that
here.
tell you? 2%.
But
of what, a 350 million person population only has the marinara.
Fully
marinara.
Fully boosted and everything. But let me tell you one more stat that I read about the marinara.
Bring it to us.
So older people, you get the marinara shot and the flu vaccine together.
Oh, they're putting that on TV now. You're Travis Kelce.
Right.
You'd be like Travis
Mr.
Kelce.
Pfizer, they're calling him
They
now.
are calling him
You
Mr.
can be like
Pfizer.
Travis Kelce and get both of them done at one time.
And you know what it's causing? Strokes on older people. They have now done a study where if you get those two together, it causes major health problems. So, anyways, it's been a long time since we touched on that subject.
And on that positive note, if this does get out and get to be,
we prayed
job,
over
Lonaiah.
yes, and Andy's Mint.
Yeah.
this does not get canceled.
Okay. Megyn Kelly just did a whole. Go ahead, Jim. What?
No, go ahead.
Megyn Kelly just did a whole podcast with people, the lawyers who are going after the marinara, like Pfizer, Moderna, all those places. They just said that accuses the DOD, what is that? Department of
Defense.
Okay. Of committing willful misconduct by deceiving millions of Americans into taking the marinara vaccine. So they were pushing it and they weren't telling you what the side effects were, what any health problems could be because of it. They were remember they were asking your children to consent without you to get this vaccine. Well, in Pennsylvania, they now have a class action lawsuit against the medical boards there. What's Robert F. Kennedy's group called? I have links to it on here, but
some action group.
They're going against everybody in there because they said they were letting 11-year-olds consent to getting this shot without their parents' permission.
That is evil.
Bags. Okay.
Total evil. Okay.
So we'll just end it on that positive note. But
hey, the truth is coming out. The truth is coming out.
Yeah, we believe it.
Yes.
You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Right? And so pray for your leaders. Pray for the nation of Israel. And so, the innocent civilians that want out of Gaza. Right? That they would find a way to get out and not be used as human shields for the hostages also. What's that?
Yeah, can I say one thing? Because I read, there's a lot of quotes that say the Israelis have killed 11,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And I asked a friend who was over there, I said, can you please clarify? Because I feel like this is misinformation. What is the number? And he said, the figure you're reading about 11,000 is right, but he said it's Hamas leaders. He's like, not very many civilians. He said, if it is, it's because they're using them as human shields.
It's not just a friend that visited. This is a friend that's ex-special forces.
Still has contacts.
Yes,
and all his one of his best friend was killed in Gaza.
Yep.
After getting 10 confirmed kills, his best friend was killed down there. These are people that know. Okay, that are there. All right. So this is not just a friend.
Right. I just wanted to
a friend that's over there.
Right.
Right. It's someone that knows. And so, sorry.
No, I just wanted to clarify that because I kept reading that and I was like, that I don't feel like that's being represented correctly. Well, so I just want to bring clarity to that.
No one's even saying that it is what the Israelis are saying is Hamas will not let a lot of these people leave.
No,
they will not let these people leave. Okay. And so, anyways, we prayed for you today. If you're a listener, a viewer, or a subscriber, please subscribe. We hope to catch you next week on the Final Hour podcast. Remember, the Israel tour, we will let you know by November 20th. We will not go over there. If it is dangerous at all, we will not go over there. But as of now, we will let you know on November 20th, whether the tour is still happening or not. Thank you so much for tuning into the Final Hour podcast. God bless you.